Fantastic. Hello and welcome to the Gordon Current Science and Technology stage. My name is Eva and I'm one of the many educators here at the museum. And today we are all here for a Meet a Scientist presentation with Dr. Gabrielle Rossi. She's the founder of Girls in Gear. Yes, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Rossi. Today she'll be talking about why riding like a girl is a good thing. So there will be time for questions at the end, but for now, let's please all enjoy this talk from Dr. Rossi.
Is it on? Yeah, can you guys hear me? Closer? Is that better? Is that better? Yeah. You can turn it up. You make it a little louder. Yeah. Is this better? Awesome. All right, hey gang, my name is Dr. Gabrielle Rossi, but most people call me Coach Gabby. I am the founder and executive director of Girls in Gear. We are a national nonprofit organization that teaches confidence building through bike riding for girls of all ages and ability levels. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to start off with this idea that biking has never really been just about riding, right? Since the very beginning, bicycles have carried with them these really powerful ideas about who belongs in public spaces and who gets to move freely throughout them. And so really to understand why Girls in Gear matters today, we have to go back about 200 years. And so when the modern bicycle, as we know them, was first invented in the 1800s, they really became symbolic for women's ability to move freely throughout our community. Initially, bikes looked a lot different than what we think of when we think of a bike today. And so if you've ever seen a bike with like a really big front wheel and a really small back wheel called a penny farthing, you know what I mean. And so in those early days, biking was mostly for men, and that was for a whole host of made-up reasons, right? Like women's clothing wasn't appropriate for riding. It was unladylike to get your heart rate up or sweat. Biking was too dangerous, and society had these other expectations for how women should be moving, using their time. But when women did start riding their bikes anyway, everything shifted, and I mean that pun intended, right? The bicycle really revolutionized women's mobility, how they move, and it challenged these deeply ingrained notions of gender roles, right? What women should or shouldn't be doing, especially with their bodies. And so by the turn of the century, a bicycle was no longer just a mode of transportation. It was this like really powerful symbol for progress and equality, equal rights between men and women. And so by simply helping women move their bodies, bicycles helped accelerate the claiming of many women's rights. Even if women weren't explicitly engaging in political work at the time, right, they couldn't vote, the decision to move their bodies was a powerful act in and of itself. A woman with a bike no longer needed to rely on a chaperone or a male figure to get around in her town or community. And so bikes changed the way women dressed, women traveled, women spoke, women carried themselves, how they looked. And so just by riding, women were making this really bold statement: I don't need your permission to move throughout my world. And so by riding, women showed that they could make decisions about their own bodily independence. And so having that power to be fully self-reliant for the first time in their lives encouraged women to be bold in other ways. For example, being able to move on a bike helped suffrage activists, whose campaigns gained tremendous momentum in earning women the long overdue right to vote in 1918. Enthusiasm for biking was so intertwined with women's rights that American suffrage leader Susan B. Anthony famously said, "I think biking has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world. It gives women a freedom of self-reliance, and I stand and rejoice every time I see a woman ride by on a wheel, a picture of a free and untrampled womanhood." And so as you can see, independence for women is intimately tied for our ability to move safely through our communities. Across the world, bikes remain a primary mode of transportation for women and girls. For example, in many countries, bikes help girls get to school, where access to education gives them the confidence and knowledge to make their own decisions. Research shows that access to education gives girls better health, it delays marriages, leads to smaller families, and improved financial outcomes. Not to mention, biking has significant health benefits for all of us, for our minds and bodies. Bikes are adaptable to meet the needs of its users, right? Road bikes help us move fast. Gravel bikes and mountain bikes help us move across uneven terrain. Electronic bikes help us commute in ways that can replace expensive cars. And adaptive bikes are able to allow everyone to be on a bike. And yet, since the beginning of bicycling, men have found ways to exclude us. No surprise, right? And so that's why women make up only 30% of bike riders across the entire world, with participation in competitive and professional cycling like even smaller than that. And so even though when you strip it down to its parts, biking is just a way to get from one place to another, it's gender-coded. Barriers upon barriers, oftentimes literally, prevent biking and women from taking up biking. Women often avoid biking because it's perceived as dangerous. We fear harassment. Bikes and bike infrastructure are not made for the ways in which we commute. And we've lacked support on the professional scale and beyond, with big name cycling companies really only recently starting to care about us and how we move. And so that's where we come in, right? At Girls in Gear, we are on a mission to make sure every girl has the opportunity to grow into the biggest, boldest, brightest version of herself on and off her bike, so that mile after mile, they can tackle whatever life throws their way. We work across the country with girls of all ages and abilities using a comprehensive, age-appropriate curricula that blends what we call life skills through bike skills. So you can take a look.
We live in a world where from a very early age, girls are questioned for who they are, why they are, and what they stand for. As they grow older, the pressure to conform and the fear of judgment can take a toll on their confidence. Physical activity drops as girls feel excluded or intimidated by traditional sports settings that don't adapt to their changing bodies and interests. At Girls in Gear, we believe that every girl deserves the chance to grow into the biggest, boldest, and brightest version of themselves, on and off their bike. Our research-backed curriculums teach life skills through bike skills in a non-competitive environment, helping girls learn how to ride with confidence, navigate obstacles, and work together as a team. Our no questions asked scholarship policy includes bikes and helmets to ensure that everyone can ride with us. Our program thrives thanks to our dedicated volunteer coaches who nurture girls' growth and development. Whether it's helping them express their feelings, encouraging them to try new challenges, or gently nudging them outside their comfort zones, our coaches create a supportive environment where every girl can thrive. Girls in Gear is so much more than a bike program. When girls learn how to ride on two wheels, change a flat tire, or lead a group ride, they're revealing their inner strength, self-reliance, and innate leadership potential. Join us at Girls in Gear and become a part of shaping the next generation of fearless leaders on wheels and pedal-powered champions pushing limits. Because when girls bike confidently through life, there's no saying how far they'll go.
So we have 4 unique programs, Pedal Power, Glide to Ride, Camp Gig, and Club Gig, and they're all designed to meet girls exactly where they are, regardless of physical skill level. Each program emboldens girls to tackle challenges with courage and build a foundation for lifelong physical and emotional wellness in a world that often tells us to be less than. When girls get into gear, they find within themselves the tools and the power to be all that they can be. We're proud to offer a no questions asked scholarship policy that includes bikes and helmets so that riders from all backgrounds can take part of our program. We create safe and inclusive spaces for our girls, not to shelter them from all those challenges I laid out or from hard work, but to embolden them to tackle all those challenges together in an environment where they feel supported, respected, and encouraged. So why does any of this matter, right? As the video mentioned, we live in a world where from a very early age, women and girls are questioned for who they are, why they are, what they stand for, how much space they take up, and what comes out of their mouth. Because the reality is girls' confidence plummets as they reach middle school. Between the ages of 8 and 14, girls' confidence falls by 30%. Think about that for a second. At a time when girls should be stepping into their fullest potential, their belief in themselves is falling off a cliff. By age 14, girls drop out of sports at 2 times the rate of boys. So when they leave sports, they leave behind all those good things that we know sports teaches us about resilience, leadership, teamwork, the joy in movement. When asked why, 1 in 3 of those girls say it's because of low self-confidence, negative body image, simply not feeling welcome. And the key thing there is those aren't physical barriers, those are cultural barriers. Knowingly or otherwise, we have created environments where girls feel like they don't belong. And then of course there's body image, right? More than half of girls in America say they're unhappy with their body. And by age 17, that number rises to 80%. 4 out of 5 girls, right on the cusp of adulthood, don't like what they see when they look in the mirror. And then of course there's omnipresent social media, right? It magnifies all of these things and put pressures onto girls telling them how they should look and how they should be. And so what does that leave us with, right? A generation of girls growing up too afraid to take risks, too afraid to be themselves, too afraid of what others are going to think of them. And when girls stop taking risks, they stop discovering how capable they really are. But here's the thing, biking has the power to change all of that. When a girl learns how to ride a bike, she's learning balance. Physically, yes, but emotionally and mentally. When she fixes a flat tire for the first time, she's learning perseverance. And when she leads a group ride, she's learning leadership. She can discover she can do hard things, even when she's scared. Just ask my friends.
Girls in Gear taught me not to give up. Something that I learned in Girls in Gear is how to be creative and brave. In the beginning, I felt scared. I actually fell, but then they helped me get up. I was proud of myself that I got back up and didn't give up. And the words just made me feel more powerful. And when you're on your bike and you look down, it's going very fast, and you just let your feet go. It feels like you're on a swing, and the world isn't a road, it's an ocean. I felt happy because I did something I thought I couldn't do.
And so, like I said, girls today are growing up facing continued legal and societal barriers that threaten their bodily autonomy and personal freedom. So, really not much since the last 200 years when we first talked about introducing bikes. From reproductive restrictions to systematic inequalities in education and employment, girls are growing up in environments that are eroding the independence, that little independence that they had. And so biking becomes more than recreation, right? It becomes a vehicle for autonomy, mobility, and opportunity. Reliable transportation improves school attendance, expands job opportunities, and increases quality of life. As I mentioned, in many parts of the world, a bike is the difference between a girl getting to school and not. But even here in the United States, closer to home, it matters. Riding a bike can be a girl's first taste of real independence, right? Suddenly she can get to school, a friend's house, take care of a loved one, or take on a job for her family. The first time she realizes, I can get myself from here to there on my own, that's a radical moment. The simple act of biking then becomes a declaration. Girls are capable, they are powerful, and they are in control of their own paths. So like I said, riding a bike, it's never just about riding a bike. It's practicing bravery, it's practicing freedom, it's rehearsing for the rest of her life, reclaiming her independence in a world that is increasingly politicizing, minimizing, and policing her body. And so at Girls in Gear, we use biking as an entryway into these bigger lessons that girls need. Lessons that are gonna last long after her helmet comes off, right? How to push through challenges, like biking uphill, even when it feels impossible, right? How to take risks, even though you're not sure you're gonna succeed, and how to trust yourself in a world that doesn't always know what to do with you. And so every time a girl gets on a bike, she is pedaling forward. She's declaring, I belong here, I am strong, I can move through this world all on my own. And when she carries that feeling into school, into friendship, into her future, that's when a bike becomes more than 2, 3, or 4 wheels. It becomes a revolution. And so I always love sharing this story. This is my friend Juanita. She immigrated here from Uruguay a few years ago. Her and her mother had to leave everything and everyone that they knew. Juanita spoke no English. She was in a new environment with no friends, no loved ones, no support system. But her mom signed her up for Girls in Gear because biking was something that was really special to her back at home. And she thought that a connection to biking was a great way to make friends and acclimate to the community. And Juanita wrote us this letter 8 weeks after she moved to the United States, speaking no English. And so I think we should all just take a moment and appreciate her handwriting, because that's a 7-year-old who just learned how to write and speak in English. And she wrote her 7 favorite things about Girls in Gear. And I love it because they're also my 7 favorite things about Girls in Gear. So, Girls in Gear. I wanna top 7 best things about Girls in Gear. 1, riding our bikes. 2, being all friends. 3, doing everything together. 4, decorating our bikes. 5, being all girls. 6, learning new things. And 7, meeting new people. And I think that really encapsulates the joy in the program, right? Biking is so important for all the things that I said, but it's also important because it instills back into us the childlike wonder and the joy that so often we've been deprived of, especially in a post-COVID world. And in giving spaces for girls just to be free, to be the most authentic version of themselves, to ask questions even though they think it's hard, to engage in activities that might be otherwise deemed as just for boys, unlocks that potential. And so, if you've liked everything I've said, amazing. We are all across the country, as I mentioned, and there's a lot of ways for us to get involved. We are always looking for role models, again, pun intended, to lead our programs. Volunteers are the heartbeat of what we do. We run programming lasting from a few hours to a few months for all ages and abilities. And so whether or not you are a weekend warrior or someone who has to pull their mountain bike out of the back of the garage and see if you have a bike pump, like, we have a place for you. Our program is better when it is reflected in the communities that we serve and those who serve alongside of us. And so you can take a picture of any of these handy QR codes about making a donation, becoming a coach, or joining our newsletter, or even all of the above. You can also check us out all day downstairs. We are the table giving out unicorn biking tattoos. Get them while they're there because they're not going to last past noon. And then we'll go back to the slide, but if you go past one more. These are all the places we are across the country. And so we are here in Boston, but we're also in a lot of other places. And the best part is we open up in new communities driven by volunteer and community support. And so if you want to see Girls in Gear in your school, in your hometown, let us know. You can get in touch with me. The other way. There we go. You can get in touch with me in a myriad of ways. I'm also going to be down at the table all day. I'm happy to answer any questions now or then. And so if we have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Maybe go back to the QR code one so people get to keep taking pictures. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rossi. Does anyone have a question that they would like to ask? I'll come around. Hands raised. Questions? I have a question to start us off.
Please.
How did you first become interested in biking yourself?
Oh my gosh, great question. So one, I didn't learn to ride my bike until I was 9 years old, and so it's never too late for anyone. I had a girl a couple months ago who was 13, and she said it was too late for her and go on without me. And so no matter who you are, there's always a chance for you to ride on 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels. Whatever bike works for you works for us. And so I loved biking, I hated biking, I used biking in a whole host of ways, but I started Girls in Gear because someone in my community was like, there's a whole rove of these like boy biker gangs. What's that about? Like, where are the girls? I'm like, oh, I can do that. And so I met with 8 girls between the ages of 8 and 12 years old in a parking lot over COVID. And we talked about our feelings. And as you can imagine, we had a lot of them. And we talked about how we were dealing with COVID and virtual schooling and not being able to see our friends. And each of those lessons tied back to a bike skill, right? And so we talked about asking for help, but then we also talked about how our gears help us when we ride our bikes. We talked about how falling off our bike is really scary, but how do we activate those resiliency muscles in those circumstances and try again? We talked about assertive communication and how we use hand signaling. And that's really where the program grew, right? I saw a need, and then many other people understood and came on board. And so we went from 8 girls to 30 girls to 60 girls to 300 girls, and 1 state to 12 states. And it was because people were standing up to say, like, yes, I want to feel seen, I want to feel safe, I want to be able to move through my community in a way where I am not fearing for my bodily autonomy and my safety, and it really became a movement.
That's awesome. Anyone have a question that they would like to ask?
Downstairs.
What's the furthest you've ever biked?
Many years ago, I biked across the country, and it was a very rewarding experience. I definitely could not do it again. But it was really my taste of understanding that biking can be a really powerful tool for your own self-exploration, and you can see the country and see the people in a way that is incredibly humanizing, and it really spurred a lot of my love for biking and the importance of understanding that it is a tool for recreation, but really so much more. So many of us use our bikes replacement for cars, to get around our communities, for health benefits, to see the world, and it's so cool that you can put so much into one simple little machine.
Thank you for that. On a street-by-street level, do you have ideas about how we can change infrastructure to make biking more inclusive? Kind of, are there changes in how we design things like bike lanes and streets to make it more friendly?
There's so much to be done. There's so much to be done. Literally, the way that biking infrastructure is built, if it is built, just does not match the way women commute and use bikes and even cars to get around. Like, we move differently than men. Like, when you think about how you go about your day and how you might drop your kid off for school and then go to the grocery store and then pick up your dry cleaning, that's gender coded, even if we don't necessarily realize it. And so I think Boston's so fortunate because you have a fairly robust public transportation system and bike infrastructure, and that's just not the case in honestly most places where we run programming across the country. And so while that work is being done, as slow as it is, we're big proponents. I'm a big proponent of teaching a girl to bike in her community and how that looks, because you know, in Williamsburg, Virginia, that means idyllic bike lanes, and our girls like never see a car, and that's amazing. But we also do programming in Brooklyn and Philadelphia and Newark, and that's just not the case. And so how do we turn bikes from being like a privilege, something you can do on a special occasion or just like in a park in the space, versus how can you do it in a way that is like a tool of mobility and independence with the tools that you have and the infrastructure you have. That's a slow process, and that money is disappearing if it's even there anymore.
Any last questions? Okay, well, if you had a question that you did not get the chance to ask, don't worry, we'll stick around for just a couple minutes, and then Dr. Rossi will be downstairs all day, lower level of the Blue Wing. But thank you all so much for joining us. Let's give one final round of applause first.